Chapter 36:18. Around the eternal river of heaven, the experts from the Invincible domain were still discussing when Prime Minister Turtle's words shocked them all. The Dragon Palace was holding an auction. 4 or 5 primordial cardinal treasures. This caused them to reveal expressions of shock on their faces. This Dragon Palace is auctioning primordial cardinal treasures. Even we can't get our hands on them. Not just us, even the real universe rulers can't get their hands on them. Among the Tai Shui Demon King, the Old Scholar, and the Black Tower Sorcerer, only 2 of them have primordial cardinal treasures. Primordial cardinal treasures are hard to come by. Such treasures can definitely trigger a life and death battle between the universe rulers. The Dragon Palace is selling 4 or 5 of them. How terrifying! Indeed. After all, these are primordial cardinal treasures. This Dragon Palace is too rich. Including the 6 races today, I heard that they have annihilated 7 or 8 top advanced races. It's terrifying. The experts from the Invincible domain were shocked when they heard Prime Minister Turtle's words. Primordial cardinal treasures were treasures that even the real universe rulers might not have. Although the Celestial Shepherd clan and the Giant of Light clan each had their own primordial cardinal treasures. But these were the treasures of their clans, the treasures passed down through generations. These were the treasures accumulated by their clans over 20 billion years. Only one primordial cardinal treasure had been around for such a long time. One could imagine how precious it was. Among the old monsters in the Invincible domain, it was hard to find one primordial cardinal treasure out of 100. In fact, there might not be more than 10 primordial cardinal treasures in the entire Invincible domain. And this time, the Dragon Palace was going to auction 4 or 5 of them. Incomparably terrifying. After Prime Minister Turtle spoke to the crowd, he immediately took out the Universe AI and made a statement in the name of the Dragon Palace. Dragon Palace. In 2 years, the Dragon Palace will be holding an auction in the eternal river of heaven. There will be light, dark, and metal primordial cardinal treasures, as well as a large number of primordial spiritual treasures and other treasures. After making the statement, Prime Minister Turtle immediately went to allocate the resources. After making the statement, all that was left was to wait. The reputation of primordial cardinal treasures would definitely attract many experts and powerful forces. However, when the Dragon Palace made the announcement, many people on the AI were dumbfounded. What was going on? What was going on? Just now, the Universe AI said that the Dragon Palace was going to be destroyed. However, the Dragon Palace suddenly announced that they would be holding an auction. Furthermore, he was going to sell connate cardinal treasures. What was going on? Shouldn't the Dragon Palace be under attack by the 3 old monsters of the Invincible domain, surrounded by the Holy Dragon King and more than 70 experts? A disciple of an expert in the Tianheng River said that the Dragon Palace was going to be destroyed. The result was like this? At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded, and their faces were filled with amazement. However, at this time, a piece of information quickly swept through the entire universe's AI. The Dragon Palace had killed Tai Shui Demon King and the other 3 old monsters of the Invincible domain. Sacred Dragon King and over 70 Third Order sovereigns were all killed. When this news spread, everyone's faces were filled with shock. What? The Dragon Palace actually killed 3 old monsters from the Invincible domain and 71 Third Order sovereigns from the Sacred Dragon bloodline? How is this possible? Didn't they say that Tai Shui Demon King and the other 2 old monsters of Invincible domain aren't weaker than true universe dominators? How could they be killed by the Dragon Palace in such a short period of time? It can't be? What exactly happened at the Tianheng River? If the Dragon Palace didn't announce that they were going to hold an auction, I wouldn't dare to believe it. This Dragon Palace is simply heaven-defying. According to a disciple from the eternal river of heaven, the Dragon Palace annihilated the High Water Demon King and the others in 10 minutes. Even the weakest among them is a Third Order universe sovereign. Experts of such a level can be considered an overlord outside of peak-level races. Among the higher races, how many of them have Third Order sovereign realm experts? However, the Dragon Palace killed over 70 of them. Terrifying. Terrifying. All the experts and disciples of the various forces looked at the latest news in shock. A third-order universe sovereign was definitely an overlord-level existence in the great desolate continent. Even the powerful Hundred Cities Alliance only had one third-order sovereign realm expert, the alliance leader. A third-order sovereign realm expert would be a VIP no matter where he went. However, over 70 of such experts were killed by the Dragon Palace in 10 minutes. Especially when there were 3 old monsters from the Invincible domain. The Dragon Palace's strength is unfathomable. Among the higher races, which is their mash. Not even the technological world, right? The Dragon Palace is invincible below the peak races. Invincible below the peak races? I agree with this. The Dragon Palace's strength is too terrifying. You have no idea where their bottom line is. On the Universe AI, an expert commented, "Invincible below the peak races?" The experts from the Invincible domain said that the Dragon King is invincible below the Universe Lord realm. At this time, another piece of news came from the AI. An old monster from the Sage bloodline muttered, "Is there really invincible enemies in this world?" They interpreted it to mean that the Dragon Palace is invincible below the Universe Lord realm. Many experts of the various races agreed with this statement. The 3 old monsters from the Invincible domain are not the Dragon King's match. The Dragon King is invincible. I dare say that the Dragon Palace has an 80% chance of becoming a peak race. The Dragon King can lead the Divine Dragon bloodline back to the peak. On the AI, countless experts and disciples were discussing. The Dragon Palace's battle was in an uproar. No one dared to look down on the Dragon Palace. No one dared to look down on the Dragon Palace. And the Dragon Palace was called invincible below the peak races by more and more experts. However, the Dragon Palace destroyed the Divine Dragon bloodline, the Giant of Light, and the other peak experts of the 6 major races. This caused the disciples of the 6 major races to feel sorrow and fear. And despair. All the peak experts of their races were killed. How could they not feel despair? Despair at the Dragon Palace's strength. Light God Mountain, the old lair of the Divine Dragon bloodline, located at the foot of a divine mountain. There was an incomparably huge god nation here. This was the Divine Dragon King's god nation. In the center of the god nation, a light divine dragon egg slowly cracked open, and a little divine dragon came out. This little light divine dragon's eyes were filled with fear and anger. He was the Divine Dragon King. He had personally witnessed the terror of the Dragon King. Invincible. Chapter 36:19. How can that Dragon King be so terrifying? How can he be so invincible? Sacred Dragon King, who had just emerged from the dragon egg, was trembling violently. His eyes widened in shock. He had witnessed Wang Xian's invincibility with his own eyes. He had witnessed the deaths of Tai Shui Demon King, the Black Tower Sorcerer, and the Old Scholar. He had witnessed the terrifying strength of the Dragon King. To him, even Archangel Gabriel was no match for the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace. Facing this kind of enemy caused him to be terrified, and it made him feel terror and despair. With such strength, even if I break through to the Universe Lord realm, I'm no match for him, right? Sacred Dragon King murmured, his expression changing constantly. Yes, at this moment, he felt that even if he broke through to the Universe Lord realm, he would still be no match for the Dragon King. As the leader of the Sacred Dragon bloodline, he knew how strong a true Universe Lord was. He was sure that they were not as strong as the Dragon King. I have to inform the third prince about this. I hope the third prince has a solution. Sacred Dragon King quickly took out the Universe AI and sent the message over with a trembling hand. This time, the 6 major races had been completely defeated. All the top experts had been killed by the Dragon King. Even if the top experts had the same treasures as him to revive, it would take at least a few 100 million years to recover to their peak. It could be said that the 6 major races were completely finished. After the message was sent, Sacred Dragon King lay there quietly. He had lost all will to fight. Wang. In less than 10 minutes, the third prince's figure appeared in Sacred Dragon King's Dragon Palace. He appeared in front of him. His brows were tightly knitted as he looked at the Holy Dragon King in front of him. There was an ugly expression on his face. "Greetings, Third Prince." Sacred Dragon King sensed the Third Prince's arrival and immediately greeted respectfully. "Is that Dragon King really as strong as you say?" The Third Prince stared at him and asked with an ugly expression. "Third Prince, I don't dare to hide anything. That Dragon King is too strong. He's definitely stronger than a true universe sovereign. The old scholar, the Black Tower sorcerer, and the High Water Demon King couldn't even take a single move from him. Third Prince, our 6 races are finished. 71 Third Order sovereigns are all dead. Third Prince, it's all because of our incompetence. That Dragon King is too terrifying." The Sacred Dragon King knelt there and spoke with a sorrowful expression. This time, their sacred dragon bloodline was completely finished. Even he himself would need a large amount of resources to recover. "Who?" The Third Prince stood there and took a deep breath. His eyes shone brightly. He was also very shocked by the strength of the Dragon King. The Third Prince was aware of the strength of the Old Scholar and the Black Tower Magi. They were existences that could absolutely fight against universe rulers. However, the Dragon King from the Dragon Palace killed him in an instant. That meant that the Dragon King's strength was comparable to a second-order universe sovereign. Is the Dragon King a universe ruler realm expert? He stared at the Holy Dragon King and asked expressionlessly. This was a very important point. If the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace had the strength of a universe ruler realm expert, then everything would be simple. They could just send experts from the Angel Tribe to destroy him. No, that Dragon King does not have the aura of a universe ruler realm expert. He has a very terrifying defensive treasure on him. Neither the Old Scholar nor the Black Tower Magi could break through his defense. Even the Black Tower Magi's curse at the cost of his life could not break through the Dragon King's defense. As the Sacred Dragon King spoke, his eyes were filled with fear and dread. That Dragon King is almost invincible among those below the universe ruler realm. He could not help but add, in his heart, it was not almost invincible, but invincible. Invincible? The Third Prince raised his eyebrows slightly and stood there quietly. "Third Prince, what should we do? What should we do?" The Sacred Dragon King could not help but ask. The Third Prince did not answer but just stood there quietly. Now, the Third Prince did not have any good ideas. It seems that the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace has inherited some of the mystical dragon tribe's destiny. There is a mutated frost mystical dragon in the Dragon Palace. That means that the Dragon King should also be a purebred mutated mystical dragon. As he spoke, a hint of jealousy flashed in his eyes. And his mutation is probably not a simple one. The Sacred Dragon King lay there, waiting respectfully for the Third Prince's orders. "Hurry up and recover first. Don't worry about anything else." The Third Prince glanced at the Sacred Dragon King. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure disappeared. The Sacred Dragon King sensed the Third Prince's departure and raised his head in shock. The Third Prince did not give any further orders? What was going on? Could it be? A hint of surprise and shock flashed in his eyes. Could it be that the Third Prince could not do anything about the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace? The Sacred Dragon King pondered. The possibility of that was very high. Xinjiang. Before long, the Third Prince's figure appeared in a corner of the mystical dragon tribe's Divine Dragon Island. Not far in front of him, the Xinjiang Aqua Phoenix stood there quietly. Failed. The Xinjiang Aqua Phoenix clearly already knew about this. She turned to look at him. "I did not expect this Dragon Palace to be so troublesome. And that Dragon King should not be a simple mutated purebred mystical dragon. He should be able to fight against 4 to 5 First-Order Universe Lords, or even more." The Third Prince said, his expression not looking too good. "You can't do anything and neither can I." When the Xinjiang Aqua Phoenix heard his words, her expression changed slightly. Before reaching the Universe Lord realm, he could already fight against 5 to 6 First-Order Universe Lords. What kind of concept was that? Even the special and powerful mutated Phoenix, the Blazing Phoenix, was only SS. And there were only a few blazing phoenixes in the entire phoenix race. The Dragon King possessed such strength, and it was suspected that his talent and bloodline were comparable to their blazing phoenixes. Then we can only wait. With the strength that the Dragon King displayed, he should be able to break through to the Universe Lord realm soon. The third prince said, I wonder how long we have to wait. The Xinjiang Aqua Phoenix frowned and muttered, Is there anyone below the Universe Lord realm who can kill him? I saw the Universe AI say that the Dragon King is invincible. Invincible? The third prince's eyes revealed a look of disdain. He can't be invincible below the Universe Lord realm. Not to mention the mutated geniuses of the pinnacle races, there are space beasts who can kill the Dragon King. In the Invincible domain, there are old lunatics who can fight and even kill the Dragon King. It's a pity, be it the space beasts, the mutated geniuses of the pinnacle races, or those old lunatics, they are not people we can summon. The Xinjiang Aqua Phoenix shook her head. Chapter 36:20. The third prince and Green River Aqua Phoenix did not think that the Dragon King was invincible under the Universe Lord realm. Not to mention the freakish space beasts and the freakish peak races. Even in the Invincible domain, there were old fellows that could be a match for the Dragon King. They stood at the core of the peak races, they knew many things. They also knew many secrets of the Invincible domain. For example, there was an old monster that killed a purebred divine dragon when the divine dragon race was still around. In the end, he was chased by the Dragon King of the divine dragon race. After escaping, he hid in the Invincible domain and was still there. For example, the Invincible domain was a special space formed when a group of Universe Lord realm experts fought the space beasts. As a matter of fact, not all of the experts had died in that battle. They knew that one was still alive, but because his foundation was destroyed, he could never recover to the Universe Lord realm in his lifetime. Once a Universe Lord realm expert was forever trapped at the peak of the Universe Venerable realm. Adding on the loss of all his loved ones, he had become a mad demon. At the same time, he was the biggest mad demon in the entire Invincible domain. His strength had now reached an extremely terrifying level. Realm would limit an expert's strength, but it was not impossible to raise one's combat power. Take the Dark Race for example. There was an old monster from the Dark Race in the Invincible domain. He had large numbers of Dark Ghost avatars. A Nether Ghost avatar was comparable to a third-order universe sovereign. Because he had lived for so long, and because he had thought of ways to raise his strength, he had nurtured large numbers of Dark Ghost avatars. What did that mean? If a Pinnacle Venerable had 20 Dark Ghost avatars, he would be able to fight a First-Order Universe Sovereign. What if he had 30, 40, 100, or 200? Even Second-Order Universe Sovereigns had to be careful when dealing with them. After all, quantity would lead to quantity. It was a pity that such an expert was not someone they could invite. Those old lunatics would not give face to the third prince and Green River Aqua Phoenix. Therefore, the third prince and Green River Aqua Phoenix had no choice. They could only wait. Wait for the Dragon King to break through, wait for the Dragon Palace to become a peak race. That way, they would be able to act. Even if the other side had the fairy race as their backing. Oh, have you heard? The old scholar, Demon King Tai Shui and the Black Tower Sorcerer were killed by the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace in the outside world. Is this real? The 3 Black Tower Sorcerers were all killed by the Dragon King? 1 kill 3? The strength? Given the personalities of the Black Tower Sorcerers, I don't think they would join forces. They have been training their invincible heart and have been looking for a breakthrough. It's impossible for them to join forces. Even so, the Dragon King of Dragon Palace was able to kill the 3 Black Tower Sorcerers. Even those old lunatics wouldn't be able to do that, right? I don't know, but the strength of the Dragon Palace's Dragon King is definitely not to be underestimated. 2 years later, the Dragon Palace will be holding an auction. At that time, there will be innate cardinal treasures. There will be light, darkness, and metal attributes. This is an innate cardinal treasure. I'll go take a look in 2 years. I'll take a look at the Dragon King's true appearance and see if I can buy a connate cardinal treasure. The information within the great desolate continent was transmitted very quickly. At the same time, the news also spread to the Invincible region. There were not many pinnacle experts in the Invincible region, but there were definitely a lot of them. Thousands of pinnacle experts in the universe venerable realm paid great attention when they learned that Demon King Tai Shui was going to challenge the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace in the outside world. Hundreds of experts rushed over, but there were also experts who didn't go. However, when they received this news, all of them were filled with shock. They were shocked by the strength of the Dragon King of Dragon Palace. However, some pinnacle old monsters in the Invincible region did not think that the Dragon King of Dragon Palace was really invincible, because in these long years, they had seen many terrifying existences. Especially in the deepest part of the Invincible region. They were very interested in the auction held by the Dragon Palace. An auction of innate cardinal treasures would definitely attract a lot of attention and commotion. At that time, even experts from the pinnacle races would come to bid. The old monsters of the Invincible region were naturally very tempted. Innate cardinal treasures were very precious. There are a lot of resources, but they are all corpses. The Sacred Dragon Bloodline, the Giant of Light Clan, the Luminous Insect Clan, the Black Fog Spirit Clan, and the Ghoul Clan are all of the Light and Darkness attribute. The treasures of their experts are also of the Light and Darkness attribute, which is not enough for them to improve themselves. The other treasures are also kept in their holy kingdoms. However, at this moment, the entire great desolate continent and even some experts from the pinnacle races were talking about the Dragon Palace and the Dragon King. As the Dragon King, Wang Xian checked all the gains at this moment. The corpses had been absorbed by the Dragon Pool. Next, it was time for the experts of the Dragon Palace to improve. And for his own improvement, he would probably only need to wait for the auction. The auction in 2 years' time. As long as he auctioned off some innate cardinal treasures, his strength and the 5 elements grindstone would be improved. At that time, not to mention first-order universe sovereigns. He would even be able to fight against second-order universe sovereigns. As Wang Xian thought to himself, he opened the universe AI to take a look, and a smile appeared on his face. Next, he would have to wait for the auction in 2 years' time. Dragon King, a group of Dragon King experts from the ancestral dragon bloodline are requesting an audience. They said they want to join our Dragon Palace. Days passed. Half a month later, the 13 Dragon Kings from the ancestral dragon bloodline suddenly came for a visit. Upon hearing Prime Minister Turtle's report, Wang Xian raised his eyebrows slightly and revealed a look of surprise. "Summon them here," he said with a smile. "Greetings, Dragon King." Soon, the 13 Dragon Kings from the ancestral dragon bloodline walked into the Dragon King Hall. They looked at the Dragon King on the dragon throne and felt the aura from him. Their eyes were filled with awe. Not long ago, they had already decided that once the Dragon King broke through to the universe sovereign realm, the ancestral dragon bloodline would directly surrender and join the Dragon Palace. But now, even though the Dragon King had not broken through, they had unanimously decided to join the Dragon Palace. The shock brought to them by the battle half a month ago was too great. 3 top-notch experts from the Invincible domain, 71 experts from the Sacred Dragon bloodline, and the experts from the 6 major races were all annihilated by the Dragon Palace. The entire process took only 10 minutes. Compared to the Dragon Palace, the strength of the ancestral dragon bloodline was nothing. All the experts and disciples of the ancestral dragon bloodline were clear that the Dragon Palace was the last hope of the Divine Dragon Clan. The Dragon King had an 80% chance of leading the Divine Dragon Clan back to the peak. Therefore, they had decided to join the Dragon Palace. Chapter 36:21. Dragon Kings, please take a seat. Looking at the 13 Dragon Kings standing respectfully before him and congratulating him, Wang Xian revealed a smile. He gestured at them with a smile on his face. "We do not dare to. Right now, the Divine Dragon bloodline regards you as the King, Dragon King. We do not dare to proclaim ourselves King." The Water Divine Dragon King in the center bowed and said respectfully. Yes, they were exceptionally respectful towards the Dragon King of Dragon Palace. With the Dragon King's achievements and the strength of the Dragon Palace, they could not afford to offend him. They had witnessed the rise of Dragon Palace with their own eyes. He had witnessed with his own eyes how the Dragon Palace had fought its way to its current position, especially the current Dragon Palace, which was known as the strongest existence below the Pinnacle clans. This made them feel proud. This was the hope of their divine dragon tribe, and this hope was very, very great. They also believed that it would not be long before the Dragon King led them to the top of the universe. This was their lifelong wish, and at the same time, it was also their former leader's greatest wish. Thank you for your trust. You are willing to join our Dragon Palace and call me king. However, once you join the Dragon Palace, you will join the purebred divine dragon division of the Dragon Palace. Similarly, all the disciples of the ancestral dragon bloodline will join the various departments of the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian looked at them and said, "We will naturally listen to your orders, Dragon King." The 13 Dragon Kings of the ancestral dragon lineage naturally had no objections. Before coming here, they had already thought of everything. Alright, then I welcome all the experts and disciples of the ancestral dragon's bloodline to join us. Let the last divine dragons and dragon breeds of our divine dragon bloodline roar in the starry skies and the ocean once again, and restore the might of a peak race. Wang Xian was also a little excited about the addition of the ancestral dragon lineage. The heritage of the ancestral dragon's lineage is very deep, and the number of experts and disciples is very large. Their participation would greatly improve the Dragon Palace's strength. Of course, the most important thing was to improve the foundation of Dragon Palace and the number of Dragon Palace disciples. Currently, the number of disciples of Dragon Palace was less than 2 million. With the addition of the disciples of the ancestral dragon lineage, the number could reach about 8 million. 8 million was not a large number for a race. In fact, it could even be considered a small number. Any peak race would have tens of millions of members. These tens of millions were the number of core disciples. This did not include some ordinary disciples who were in charge of logistics. The increase in the number of disciples in Dragon Palace could make Dragon Palace more lively. After all, the most important factor in the development of a race was reproduction. The higher the number, the higher the chances of a strong expert being born. Currently, the Dragon Palace did not have the ability to create a universe ruler. And for a pinnacle universe venerable to break through to the universe ruler realm, the chances were very small. Even among the peak races, the probability was only 1 in 10. The might of a peak race has been restored, and our divine dragon race will roar once again. The 13 experts of the ancestral dragon's bloodline also roared with excitement and excitement. Prime Minister Turtle, send the experts of Dragon Palace to help the ancestral dragon's bloodline migrate. Wang Xian looked at them with a smile as he instructed Prime Minister Turtle. Yes. Prime Minister Turtle nodded and looked at the 13 future experts of the Dragon Palace with a smile. Let's go, everyone. Transfer your Dragon Palace to the Dragon Palace. Let's create the glory of the divine dragon tribe together. Yes, please take care of me in the future, Prime Minister Turtle. The 13 experts naturally knew Prime Minister Turtle's position in the Dragon Palace. He was the butler of the Dragon Palace other than the Dragon King and Dragon Queen. Even though he was much weaker than them, he was still responsible for the overall planning of the Dragon Palace. Prime Minister Turtle was a scholar, while they were a martial artist. Rest assured, everyone. As long as you join the Dragon Palace, we will be a family. We will not allow any disharmony in our family. We will work hard together in the future, Prime Minister Turtle said with a smile as he led them away. Wang Xian looked over and his eyes sparkled. From today onwards, the ancestral dragon bloodline will join the Dragon Palace completely. In the future, there will be no more ancestral dragon bloodline. We will carry the will of the ancestral dragon leader and become the right-hand man of the Dragon King. We will follow the Dragon King and restore the glory of the divine dragon tribe. The Dragon Palace is invincible. The Dragon King is invincible. Not long after Prime Minister Turtle led them away, the announcement of the ancestral dragon bloodline caused quite a stir on the universe AI. The strength of the ancestral dragon bloodline was not weak. In fact, it could be said that they were very, very strong. Some time ago, the ancestral dragon bloodline was still competing for glory with the sacred dragon bloodline, which attracted a lot of attention. Now, their announcement shocked the experts and disciples of the various races, but at the same time, it was within their expectations. This was because of the will of the ancestral dragon leader. Everything was to restore the glory of the divine dragon tribe. Although the ancestral dragon leader was dead and the ancestral dragon bloodline was greatly weakened, their will had not changed. The Dragon King can lead the divine dragon tribe back to glory. It's normal for the ancestral dragon bloodline to join the dragon palace. The will of the ancestral dragon leader is to restore the glory of the divine dragon tribe. He doesn't care if it's the ancestral dragon bloodline or the dragon palace, as long as it's the divine dragon tribe. The Dragon King has the strength to make them submit. With the ancestral dragon bloodline joining the dragon palace, the strength of the dragon palace has become much stronger. Below the pinnacle races, they are truly invincible. On the Universe AI, the disciples of the various races saw this news and were discussing it. The strength of the dragon palace had increased again. Among the advanced races which could compete with the dragon palace, none. Perhaps it wouldn't be long before the divine dragon tribe could regain its glory. Of course, there were some experts who didn't think highly of the dragon palace. After all, the mastermind behind the 6 races attack was the angel race. Of course, there were even more experts who felt that the dragon palace could regain its glory because it had the help of the elf race. Is this the dragon palace? From afar, it doesn't look very strong. The dragon palace doesn't look very big. Compared to the dragon palaces of our 13 dragon kings, it seems a little small. That's right, the aura of the dragon palace doesn't feel very strong. What do you know? Isn't there a saying in the sage bloodline that goes, no matter how high the mountain is, an immortal will be famous. No matter how deep the water is, a dragon will be spirited. This is our Dragon King's dragon palace, and the strength of these lords is truly terrifying. The Dragon Palace casually sent out 10 third-order sovereigns to help us migrate. Days passed, and 2 months later, the ancestral dragon bloodline's 14 incomparably huge dragon palaces slowly flew towards the Dragon Palace. At the same time, within the Dragon Palace, the 6 million experts and disciples of the ancestral dragon bloodline were inside. They looked at the Dragon Palace in front of them with shock and awe. This was the Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace that had shaken the interior of the chaotic heavenly continent and annihilated the 6 major races. Chapter 36:22. In the future, the Dragon King will be the only king of our divine dragon lineage. We have no choice but to obey the Dragon King's orders. Join the Dragon Palace and we will also be a part of the Dragon Palace. We will stand shoulder to shoulder with the Dragon King. Under the leadership of the Dragon King, we will strive to restore the glory of our divine dragon lineage as soon as possible. 14 huge dragon palaces flew towards the Dragon Palace. Looking at the Dragon Palace below the water in the sky, the 13 Dragon Kings reminded their disciples once again. Yes. The group of disciples shouted loudly. His eyes were also filled with a passionate look. Ahead of them was their new king, Dragon King of Dragon Palace. An existence that was much stronger than their ancestral dragon leader. He was also a powerhouse that all divine dragons admired and worshipped. Dragon King, our new clansman, has arrived with good news. The ancestral dragon bloodline has 14 powerful dragon palaces, 13 of which are the true universe dominator level dragon palaces. At the same time, in the Dragon Palace, Prime Minister Turtle reported to Wang Xian excitedly. Upon hearing Prime Minister Turtle's words, Wang Xian's eyes lit up with excitement. They have 13 universe ruler-level dragon palaces. What about their attributes? He hurriedly asked. As he spoke, he immediately flew towards the entrance of the Dragon Palace. Dragon King, you have all 9 attributes. Prime Minister Turtle said excitedly. The current Dragon Palace was at the post-celestial level. In other words, it was equivalent to a venerable level god nation. Of course, universe supremacies could not break through the Dragon Palace's defenses. If the Dragon Palace wanted to advance from the postnatal realm to the innate realm, it would need to absorb the god nation of 9 different attributes. The Dragon Palace was also a god kingdom. As long as he could absorb it, his Dragon Palace would be able to reach the innate realm. At this level, it could withstand an attack from a universe ruler realm expert. At the same time, the spiritual chi in the Dragon Palace, the speed of cultivation, and other functions would be doubled. Once the Dragon Palace was upgraded, they would have the power to protect themselves. At that time, even if a 4th or 5th order universe ruler came to attack, they would be able to block it. All right. Wang Xian flew to the east gate of the Dragon Palace. Looking at the 14 Dragon Palaces in front of him, his eyes were filled with excitement. The improvement of the Dragon Palace was important, but Wang Xian was more concerned about something else. The Progenitor Tree's upgrade. The Progenitor Tree was Wang Xian's greatest trump card. It was also the greatest trump card of the Dragon Palace. After such a long time, he had also reached his current level. He had a vague feeling. That was, the Ancestor Tree was originally left behind by the Divine Dragon race's seniors for the successors of the Divine Dragon bloodline. Even his own system was created by the ancestors of the Divine Dragon race in order to assist the successor of the Divine Dragon race. And he was the successor. The bloodline of the ancient god Kuan breeder might have been left on Earth. He even had some guesses about the current system. This might be the product of gathering the last of the Divine Dragon race's strength, gathering all of the insectoid race's technology, and the Divine Dragon Palace. This was also the reason why he and Dragon Palace could improve so quickly. After all, none of the other Dragon Palaces had a dragon transformation pool. It was also impossible to easily transform it into a peak dragon species. This was the ability of the insectoids. The bug race was incomparably terrifying. As long as the Dragon Palace devours the 9 elemental Dragon Palaces, it will be upgraded. At that time, the Progenitor Tree might have some new changes. Wang Xian mumbled to himself. The Dragon Palaces of the 13 experts of the ancestral dragon bloodline were not created by them. They had obtained them through great opportunities. After all, there were many Universe Lord Realm Dragon Kings during the glorious era. It was not impossible for some Dragon Palaces of the Universe Lord Realm to be preserved. All members of the Dragon Palace, come and welcome our new member. Prime Minister Turtle came to Wang Xian's back and ordered all the members of the Dragon Palace. After all, the Dragon Palace would have an additional 6 million dragon species this time. They had to welcome them grandly. Yes. After Prime Minister Turtle's order, a group of experts from the Dragon Palace flew over. There were about 2,000 purebred divine dragons. Each of them was a peak dragon species, and each of them exuded a powerful aura. Guan Shuqing, Lan Qingyue, Sun Lingxiu, Tang Inxian, and the rest of the dragon queens also flew out and stood beside Wang Xian with smiles on their faces. Among them, Xiao Yu and her husband, Feng Lingtian, were also beside them. As for Xiao Yu and Fan Qinglan, they exuded a dark and terrifying aura that belonged to the skeletal dragon. Their strength had already reached the peak universe lord realm. Comparable to Bei Shuang, they could fight a first-order universe lord realm expert. The harvest from a few months ago had increased the strength of the Dragon Palace to a terrifying degree. Other than them, there were 153rd Order Universe Lord Realm experts of the Dragon Palace at the back. Around them, the peak dragon species lined up neatly. This is such a terrifying aura. Just as all the experts of the Dragon Palace came out, the 13 Third Order Universe Lord Realm experts in the 13 Dragon Palaces in front of them were shocked when they saw the Dragon King and the group of experts and dragon species from the Dragon Palace. At a glance, there were a total of 150 to 160 experts with similar auras to them. What kind of concept was this? In addition to the 10 experts beside them, there were a total of 150 to 160 experts in the Dragon Palace. In addition, they could vaguely sense that there were 3 to 4 experts who were stronger than them. Oh my God, look over there. Purebred divine dragons. So many purebred divine dragons. There are at least 2,000 of them, right? At this time, the disciples in the 14 dragon palaces were in disbelief. What did they see? Over 2,000 purebred divine dragons. In their opinion, there were at least 200 to 300 purebred divine dragons in the entire universe. However, there were about 2,000 of them in the Dragon Palace. Moreover, every legendary divine dragon was exceptionally strong. Not only are there purebred divine dragons, there are also spike dragon species, berserk dragon species, imperial dragon species, arrow dragon species. Oh my god, this. At this time, the 13 Third Order Universe Lord Realm divine dragons looked on in shock. They looked at the over 2,000 purebred divine dragons and sensed the peak dragon species legions. They were slightly dazed. Was this the peak of the divine dragon race? This wasn't their first time in the Dragon Palace, but it was their first time seeing all the members of the Dragon Palace. They could only use the word unbelievable to describe it. All disciples immediately greet the Dragon King. The Third Order Universe Lord Water Divine Dragon shouted and flew out of the Dragon Palace. Greetings, Dragon King, greetings, King. At this moment, he knelt down in the water and performed an official bow. Greetings, Dragon King, greetings, King. The rest of the experts and disciples immediately flew over and knelt down with faces full of shock. Chapter 36-23. Greetings, Dragon King. Greetings, King. At this moment, they were completely submissive. The Dragon Palace was even more terrifying than they had imagined. This caused them to feel excited and proud. Everyone, please rise. Welcome to our Dragon Palace. In the future, we will also be a family. We will share honor and disgrace, trials and tribulations, climb to the peak, and create glory together. Wang Xian swept his gaze across the experts and disciples of the ancestral dragon lineage with a satisfied look. Among the 6 million ancestral dragon bloodline experts and disciples, there were only a few dozen purebred divine dragons, while the rest were all divine dragon bloodline users. Thank you, Dragon King. All the powerful disciples answered excitedly. Now, let's go through the Dragon's Gate and enter. Wang Xian instructed with a smile. Challenge the Dragon Palace and become a true member of the Dragon Palace, with Wang Xian as the leader. Wang Xian's will was their life. Once he passed through the Dragon's Gate, they would obey him 100%. The experts and disciples of the ancestral dragon bloodline nodded and looked at the peak dragon species of the Dragon Palace in awe. The powerful disciples of the ancestral dragon bloodline all possessed the bloodline of the divine dragon and had stayed in the powerful Dragon King's Dragon Palace before. To them, challenging the Dragon's Gate was a piece of cake. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly as he watched the group of people with divine dragon bloodline enter easily. Prime Minister Turtle, have Dark Light and the rest hover their dragon palaces above the Dragon Palace. Wang Xian instructed Prime Minister Turtle when he saw the 13 Third Order sovereigns passing the Dragon's Gate. It's Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded with a fervent gaze. Soon, under Prime Minister Turtle's command, 9 universe ruler-level dragon palaces floated above the Dragon Palace. Ding! Discovered metal, wood, water, fire, earth, light, darkness, wind, lightning, 9 elements universe lord-level god kingdoms. Do you want to devour? At this time, the system's voice sounded. Wang Xian nodded to himself immediately. Buzz! As soon as he finished speaking, a terrifying whirlpool suddenly surged out of the Dragon Palace below. The whirlpool seemed to have endless devouring power, sucking in the metal-type Dragon Palace. The metal-type Dragon Palace did not have the slightest resistance and was quickly absorbed. The entire Dragon Palace emitted surging energy. A dragon roar suddenly sounded, and a golden divine dragon slowly appeared in the sky above the Dragon Palace. The golden divine dragon fused into one of the dragon pillars of the Dragon Palace. The metal attribute Dragon Palace was completely absorbed. Following that, the wood attribute Dragon Palace was quickly devoured by the Dragon Palace. Every time a Dragon Palace was devoured, A mirage of a divine dragon would appear and fuse into the dragon pillar of the dragon palace. Buzz. 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 What's happening to our dragon palace? What a terrifying divine dragon aura. Our dragon palace is evolving. Great, my dragon palace is finally going to evolve again. In the dragon palace, all the experts and disciples looked up at the sky, watching the changes of the entire dragon palace. The energy of the dragon palace was getting more and more vast. The dragon might was also getting stronger and stronger. Dragon palaces of different attributes were devoured one by one. Buzz. When the last lightning attribute dragon palace was absorbed, 9 divine dragons soared into the sky from the dragon palace below. 9 divine dragons hovered in the sky above the dragon palace, emitting waves of boundless elemental energy. Energy began to sprinkle into the dragon palace, making the entire dragon palace sacred, ethereal, and vast. The 9 divine dragons slowly turned into light, and the energy ashes fell to the ground. Ding! Congratulations to host, the dragon palace has leveled up into the innate dragon palace. Dragon Palace, innate dragon master, Wang Xian Buildings, Dragon King Palace, innate dragon transformation pool, innate dragon sect, innate ocean pacifying pillar, innate dragon cave, innate dragon field, innate dragon formation, innate spiritual items, progenitor tree, heaven origin creation appendix, dragon transformation pool cultivates dragon species. Current dragon species, golden swordfish, thunder shrimp, devil monkey, mysterious demon, light thorn, hydra, dragon turtle, yaksha, clam girl, golden lobster, starwood dragon species, fire phoenix species, berserk dragon species, venom horn dragon species. Special buildings, dragon lair, devouring dragon, consume energy to create your own kind of insect. The mother insect feeds on all kinds of metal materials. Progenitor tree, heaven origin creation branch, soul returning wood branch phoenix tree branch boundless wood branch poplar tree branch nirvana thunder tree branch seed of advancement fruit. Immortal slaying gourd abilities. 1. Revive all plants with wood attributes. As the energy of the progenitor tree increases, the level of the branches can be increased. Annex, Ancient Pool Moon Bay, leveled up. With the system's upgrade, Wang Xian checked the attributes in his head. Excitement filled his eyes as he looked at the majestic Dragon Palace. The Dragon Palace was finally upgraded again. After the upgrade, the Dragon Palace was almost at its peak. If he wanted to break through again, it would be extremely difficult. Looking at the Dragon Palace below, Wang Xian had a thought. In the next moment, the entire Dragon Palace changed. It was expanding. Under the control of his mind, it easily expanded to 5 times its original size. All the buildings within were also expanded to 5 times their original size. This made the entire Dragon Palace look even more majestic. This was the biggest change after the upgrade of the Dragon Palace. This energy was also known as transformation. Transformation. It could change its size. The smallest could reach tens of thousands of kilometers in size, while the largest could reach tens of billions of kilometers in size. This transformation was extremely terrifying. Swish. Prime Minister Turtle helped the new disciples settle down first. He made a move and immediately flew towards the Dragon King Hall. When he arrived at the Dragon King Hall, he immediately saw the progenitor tree that had undergone a huge change. In terms of size, the progenitor tree was 10 times its original size. Clearly, the upgrade this time was huge. The fruits on it were glowing brightly. Chapter 36-24. The fruits on the progenitor tree exuded intense energy. Today, the progenitor tree was full of fruits. Soul Return embryo fruit, Endless embryo fruit, Nirvana thunder embryo fruit, etc. There were thousands of them, especially the Soul Return embryo fruit, which was definitely a treasure in the universe. The advancement seed has also undergone great changes. The advancement of the progenitor tree has greatly shortened the time needed for the seed to mature. Now it can mature in 1,000,000 years. Wang Xian murmured, his eyes filled with excitement. 1,000,000 years was not a long time for an expert of a high-level race. In fact, it could be considered very short. Let me announce that the app I've been using recently is supported on both Android and Apple phones. What did it mean for the Dragon Palace to produce an advancement seed in 1,000,000 years? 100,000,000 years could allow the Dragon Palace to produce 100 Universe Lord Realm experts. 100 might not seem like a lot, but these advancement seeds could be used by those experts who had difficulty advancing. If the Dragon Palace developed for 10 billion years, then the Dragon Palace could produce 10,000 Universe Ruler Realm experts. That was a terrifying number. In addition to the experts who could break through on their own, the number would be even more. There was another premise, and that was the current situation of the progenitor tree. If the Dragon Palace had a chance to advance again, the progenitor tree could absorb a huge amount of energy and shorten the time needed for the advancement seed. The seed of advancement was definitely a rare treasure. The current Dragon Palace would be able to put up a slight resistance even if the experts from the Angel clan attacked. Of course, it would just be a slight resistance. Wang Xian murmured with a smile on his face. The Dragon Palace was getting stronger and stronger. After checking all the buildings in the Dragon Palace, the ancestral dragon bloodline was completely integrated into the Dragon Palace. Since then, the ancestral dragon bloodline had completely disappeared. The strength and foundation of the Dragon Palace had been greatly enhanced. For example, the number of third-order sovereigns had already reached 175. 175th? What kind of concept was that? Just a few of them could wipe out an advanced race. As for experts who could match the true Universe Lord Realm, excluding Wang Xian, there were 3. Bei Shuang, Xiao Yu, and Fan Qinglan. 1 Frost Divine Dragon and 2 Bone Dragons. As for the Water Tentacle King, he was currently absorbing the energy of the Tai Water Demon King and would probably recover soon. After he recovered, the Dragon Palace would have a Universe Dominator Realm Astral Beast. At present, the strength of Dragon Palace was terrifying. However, it was still a far cry from the apex races, even the weakest of the apex races. According to the Universe Artificial Intelligence's information, the weakest apex race had a few hundred Universe Lord-level warriors. As for the exact amount, no one knew. In the following period of time, the 6 million powerful disciples of the ancestral dragon bloodline began to convert to the pinnacle dragon species. The Dragon Palace's army was expanding rapidly. 2 years was a very short period of time in the Great Desolate Continent. 2 years was enough for a large number of experts to come from the inner continents. Some of the peak clans and experts from the Invincible domain would also be able to rush over. The Dragon Palace's auction caused a huge sensation. Auctioning a Xiantian treasure. Such a treasure was something that even a universe ruler from a peak race would covet, especially the powerhouses of the light and darkness races. At the same time, it attracted a large number of experts in the Invincible domain. Among them, there was no lack of old monsters comparable to the Old Scholar and the High Water Demon King. When there was still a month before the auction, some experts had already arrived at the vicinity of the Eternal Heaven River. Seems like there will be quite a number of experts from various races this time. I wonder how many Universe Lord experts from the peak races will come. Wang Xian stood in the Dragon Palace. With a wave of his arm, the entire Heaven Eternal River appeared before him. This was the scouting ability of the Dragon Palace. It could already cover the entire Heaven Eternal River. It will definitely attract many Universe Lord experts. Many experts from the Invincible domain will also be coming. Prime Minister Turtle smiled and said, "Currently, the Dragon Palace has been set up for the auction. Should we take out some of our special treasures for the auction?" The special treasures that Prime Minister Turtle mentioned were the fruits on the progenitor tree. Soul Return Fruit, Endless Fetus Fruit, Nirvana Thunder Fetus Fruit, Eternal Fetus Fruit, and other fruits like the Soul Return Fruit would definitely be extremely valuable. Wang Xian pondered for a moment and looked at the fruits on the progenitor tree. Let's decide according to the number of experts. If there are more experts this time, we can sell 1 Soul Return Fruit. He pondered for a moment and answered. The Soul Return Fruit was extremely precious. However, it wouldn't be a problem to sell one. After all, although such life-saving treasures were precious, powerful high-level races and peak experts all had them. It wouldn't be a problem for the Dragon Palace to sell one. Of course, if the outside world knew that there were thousands of soul return fruit in the Dragon Palace, even the peak races would disregard the rules and annihilate the Dragon Palace. A treasure of this level was too precious. Also, if any experts have items to sell or auction, you can entrust them to us for auction. We will take a 5% commission. Wang Xian said to Prime Minister Turtle. There might be many experts coming this time. Many of them had treasures that they didn't use. If they wanted to auction them, the Dragon Palace could provide them. Of course, the Dragon Palace could also earn a huge commission. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded and flew out immediately. Soon, they arrived at a huge auction venue at the side of the Dragon Palace. They had set up a large number of arrays around the venue. The harvest this time had increased the number of third-order Sovereign Realm Dragon Shamans to 15. The arrays set up by 15 third-order Sovereign Realm Dragon Shamans could trap and kill a true Universe Lord expert. They had to protect the Dragon Palace's auction this time. They could intimidate those who didn't know what was good for them. In addition, Wang Xian was prepared to let 100 third-order Sovereign Realm Dragon Palace experts stand guard at the venue when the auction started. This was to prevent accidents from happening. At the same time, it was a deterrent to other forces. A line of words floated above the auction venue. The general meaning was that the Dragon Palace would accept the auction business. Some experts who were closer to the Dragon Palace had arrived in advance around the Heaven Eternal River. Their eyes flickered when they saw this message. However, they weren't too surprised. It was normal for the Dragon Palace to accept the auction. Chapter 36:25, Swish, swish, swish. Wang wang wang. Rumble, rumble, rumble. As the Dragon Palace's auction drew nearer, more and more experts arrived around the Eternal Heaven River. Some experts rushed over at a terrifying speed. Some experts came in a majestic manner, exuding boundless might as they crossed the river. There were also some high-level races that rode on huge flying machines. However, these experts and disciples from the high-level races kept a low profile. They hovered above the Eternal Heaven River and scanned their surroundings curiously. There are quite a few powerful races that have come. That's the Star Soul race. They have many third-order universe sovereigns. They once obtained a powerful meteorite that caused hundreds of their experts to mutate. It's said that they have more than 30 third-order universe sovereigns. That's the cold light sword god from 19 continents. I didn't expect him to be here. He's a powerful existence with a connate cardinal treasure. Below the pinnacle races in the inner continents, he's definitely a terrifying existence. I heard he accepted a disciple. Look over there. Those should be experts from the Invincible domain, right? The murderous aura on them is so strong. There are 2 experts from the Star Soul race who came from the Invincible domain. Their strength is terrifying. Now that so many experts from the Invincible domain are here, I'm afraid the experts from the pinnacle races will also be here. The sounds of discussion in the surroundings continued to ring out. The first to arrive were the high-level races. However, all the experts and disciples knew that experts from the pinnacle races would be here as well. Connate cardinal treasures were enough to attract experts from the pinnacle races and even universe sovereigns. After all, connate cardinal treasures were invaluable even to universe sovereigns. There are many experts here this time. Get the experts of the Dragon Palace to pay attention. Activate the array. At this moment, Wang Xian, who was in the Dragon Palace, looked around and ordered Prime Minister Turtle. Yes, Dragon King. Prime Minister Turtle nodded. The Dragon Palace's auction was getting closer. There would be more experts. The Dragon Palace had to take precautions. The experts from the pinnacle races would not break the rules. However, other experts would not be lacking, especially those old monsters from the Invincible domain. There was no room for mistakes in this auction. Wang wang wang. Soon, at the auction house next to the Dragon Palace, a terrifying energy soared into the sky. dragon pillars appeared out of thin air in the surroundings. On top of the dragon pillars were spiraling divine dragons. They stood there in a lifelike manner. A pair of incomparably cold dragon eyes swept across the surroundings. Kakaka. At the same time, numerous gigantic demonic dragon cannons were aimed at the surroundings of the auction house. Each of the 18 demonic dragon cannons contained an incomparably terrifying might. Just a glance at it would make one's heart palpitate. This is? When the Dragon Palace's array formation and the demonic dragon cannon were raised, all the experts and disciples who had arrived looked over in shock. When they sensed the terror on the dragon pillars. When he saw the pitch-black demonic dragon cannon, he couldn't help but tense up. What kind of formation is this? Why does it give off such a terrifying feeling? This formation should be able to easily kill me. Somewhere in the eternal river of heaven, a group of old monsters from the Invincible domain saw the array that suddenly rose, and their pupils shrank. An old monster's eyes widened as he couldn't help but roar in a low voice. The formation that rose from the auction house beside the Dragon Palace could instantly kill him. As expected of an existence that could kill the old scholar, Demon King Tai Shui, and the Black Tower. Just this formation alone is enough to fight against a universe-sovereign realm expert. An old sorcerer from the Invincible domain scanned the formation as he commented. This Dragon Palace isn't simple. With those 18 terrifying weapons, even 5 to 6 third-order sovereigns can be easily annihilated. The former divine dragon race. Looks like this Dragon King must have obtained a powerful divine dragon inheritance. They might be able to become a peak race once again. Some old monsters from the Invincible domain discussed. In the surroundings, the experts of the other high-level races could vaguely hear the discussion, and their faces were filled with shock. The Dragon Palace is truly invincible. They haven't even sent an expert. Just their formation and war weapons can easily destroy us. They are invincible below the peak races. An old monster from the Invincible domain couldn't help but comment. The surrounding experts of the Star Soul race nodded their heads silently. It would be a piece of cake for the Dragon Palace to annihilate them. Even the Star Soul race was shocked, not to mention the other races and forces. All of them looked on in shock. Experts from the peak races are here. As the auction drew nearer, the experts and disciples from the peak races began to appear. The first to appear were the experts from the fairy race. The fairy race's experts and disciples arrived, led by the life sound arrow. Other than him, who was a universe sovereign, the rest were all existences below the universe sovereign realm. The fairy race mainly relied on the wood attribute. Therefore, the inborn cardinal treasures in this auction were not of much use to the fairy race. Therefore, only one of their experts came to lead the team, while the fairy race had over 1,000 disciples. Welcome, Lord Life Sound Arrow. The fairy race was indebted to Wang Xian, and he came personally to welcome him. He cupped his fists at the Life Sound Arrow. Dragon King, you don't have to be so polite. Given your current strength, I'm afraid you're no weaker than me. It won't be long before you surpass me. The Life Sound Arrow said to Wang Xian with a smile. Greetings, Lord Dragon King. The fairy race's disciples around the Life Sound Arrow cupped their fists at Wang Xian and greeted him. Firstly, Wang Xian's strength was terrifying enough. Of course, the main reason was because of the companion spirits. The companion spirits enjoyed a high status in the fairy race. Ordinary disciples would have to address them respectfully. As the owner of the companion spirits, Wang Xian naturally had to treat them with respect. Please come in. Wang Xian smiled and led them into the Dragon Palace. After the arrival of the fairy race, experts from other peak races arrived one after another. Experts from the Divine Tiger race, Devil race, Nether race, and Celestial Nation. The Divine Tiger race possessed all kinds of attributes. As for the Devil race and Nether race, they mainly cultivated the dark attribute. The experts and disciples of the Celestial Nation also possessed all kinds of attributes. The experts and disciples of the 4 peak races flew over without hiding anything. Wang Xian and Prime Minister Turtle welcomed them personally. Chapter 36-26. Wang Xian still had to be courteous to the pinnacle races. Moreover, these pinnacle races had experts at the Universe Lord realm here. Such experts would be respected wherever they went. Even Wang Xian couldn't sense the exact strength of two of the experts. The life sonar arrow cupped its fist at the two experts to show its respect. Clearly, they were much stronger than the life sonar arrow. The experts from the pinnacle races entered the guest rooms of the auction. This was an eye-opener for the experts and disciples from the surrounding high-level races. Dragon King, we detected experts hiding in the surroundings. They are very strong. With only one day to the auction, Prime Minister Turtle reported to Wang Xian after looking at the information obtained by the Dragon Palace. Can you find out who the experts are? Wang Xian asked. We have sent experts to take a look. They should be from the Angel Clan. The rest should be top-notch experts from the Invincible domain. They are comparable to the Old Scholar and Demon King Tai Shui. Prime Minister Turtle said. Some experts had already arrived. However, they didn't want to show themselves. Hence, they were hiding in the surroundings. How many top-notch experts are there now? Wang Xian asked him. There should be about 35 experts from the various pinnacle races, including some old monsters from the Invincible domain. I just don't know if there are more experts hiding in the surroundings. Prime Minister Turtle reported. Wang Xian nodded his head slightly. 35 experts with at least 4th Order Universe Lord combat strength. This was a huge number. One should know that many experts didn't just represent themselves. They could be relatives and friends, or even a circle of experts from the pinnacle races. I can only sell 3 soul returned fetal fruits. I can't sell any more than that. Wang Xian thought to himself. Treasures of this level were too precious. If he took too many of them, he might attract the attention of the experts. Wang Xian, my father and grandfather are here. I'm going to welcome them. At this time, Ling Honggu flew over and said to Wang Xian. They're here? Let's go together then. Wang Xian was taken aback for a moment before replying with a smile. All right. Ling Honggu smiled and nodded his head. The two of them moved and flew out. This is? When he and Ling Honggu flew out, they focused their attention on the old man beside the Spirit Devil King. The old man was extremely burly, and his aura was restrained at this moment. However, Wang Xian could tell at a glance that he was an expert at the Universe Lord realm. Furthermore, its strength was also greater than that of the life sound arrow. As for its exact strength, he was unable to determine it. While Wang Xian was sizing him up, the old man was also sizing him up. Not bad, not bad. You're the Dragon King, right? You're strong and you have great potential. The old man commented with a smile. Sir, thank you for your praise. Wang Xian cupped his fist and looked at Ling Honggu. He hadn't expected Ling Honggu to have such a terrifying grandfather. This person should be a powerhouse of the Skeleton Clan. Among the Peak clans, it was best not to provoke the Skeleton Clan in a one-on-one situation, because you didn't know if it was a 1v1 or a 1v999999999. There is a well-known fact in the universe, and that is do not engage in a 1v1 PK with the skeleton race, because they might summon an army of skeletons. Even if an angel from the angel race can summon an angel army, you still have to consider how many armies this Skeleton King has. A Skeleton King above the Universe Lord realm would definitely have his own skeleton army. Spirit Devil King, this way please. Wang Xian extended his hand and invited them into the Dragon Palace. That's an expert of the Skeleton Clan. This Dragon Palace Dragon King is not only on good terms with the elf race, but also with a king of the Skeleton Clan? Which king of the Skeleton Clan is that? He's much stronger than me. In the surrounding area, the experts from the top clans looked over with sparkling eyes. Wang Xian brought the Spirit Devil King and the rest into the Dragon King Palace, invited them to a banquet, and chatted for a while. He also had a brief understanding of Ling Honggu's grandfather, a king of the Skeleton Clan. Because of his relationship with Ling Honggu's grandfather was very polite to Wang Xian and even admired him. After all, it was all because of Wang Xian that Ling Honggu could reach his current level. The auction is about to begin. Sir Life Sound Arrow, Sir Black Vulture King, everyone, let's head over. The auction was about to begin. Wang Xian called Ling Honggu's grandfather, Black Vulture King, and Life Sound Arrow to the auction hall. Life Sound Arrow nodded with a smile. Over the past few days, Wang Xian had treated the elf race very well. Disregarding everything else, he had taken out 2 soul return fetal fruits for Life Sound Arrow. However, Life Sound Arrow did not take advantage of him. He had used some extremely precious fruits and spiritual grass in exchange. Of course, although the treasures that Life Sound Arrow had taken out were precious, the rarity of the soul return fetal fruits was incomparable. As for Ling Honggu's grandfather, Wang Xian had taken out the darkness attribute inborn cardinal treasure and sold it to him at a low price. Ling Honggu's grandfather had rejected the offer. He said that if he wanted it, he would bid for it. Wang Xian smiled and did not continue with the pleasantries. The resources that Wang Xian had now were sufficient for him to level up. However, there was still the auction to be held. After the auction, he would make a breakthrough. Wang. When Wang Xian and the rest flew towards the auction hall, divine dragons, berserk dragons, halberd dragon guards, and imperial dragons flew out from the dragon palace. Among the 20 purebred divine dragons, Bei Shuang was the leader. The rest were Ao Qitian, Ao Qi, Ao Yaksha, and the rest of the elite close combat dragons. Each of them exuded the combat strength of a third-order universe sovereign. A total of 100 third-order universe sovereigns exuded a terrifying aura. In the surrounding area, some of the experts from the peak races looked over in astonishment, their eyes flashing with light. 20 purebred divine dragons and the rest are from the elite races. This dragon palace lives up to its name. Impressive. That should be the Frost Divine Dragon. It would be much easier for a mutated purebred divine dragon to break through the shackles of the sovereign realm. Seems like the dragon palace could really become one of the elite races. The current strength of the dragon palace is comparable to the peak of the divine dragon tribe. They have a rather strong dragon king. There are quite a lot of peak dragon species. I heard that they even have the spike dragon species. That's a terrifying existence. The surrounding experts from the 5 to 6 elite races looked on in astonishment. As for those disciples from the elite races who had yet to break through to the sovereign realm, they were even more shocked. Chapter 3627. Is this the strength of Dragon Palace? 100 third-order sovereigns, hiss, how terrifying. This power is too terrifying. So powerful. Is the Dragon Palace really so powerful? How did the Dragon Palace develop so quickly? 1,000 years ago, they were forced by the 100 Cities Alliance to seal and suppress their palace. Now they have become so terrifying. This strength is invincible among the high-level clans. Just based on the strength displayed by the Dragon Palace and this formation, it's almost invincible. The experts from the peak races were slightly surprised. As for the disciples of the high-level clans, they were incomparably shocked. Ever since the Dragon Palace annihilated the Invincible Domain's Tai Shui Demon King and the other 2, annihilating 71 third-order universe sovereigns in a mere 10 minutes, many disciples on the AI proclaimed the Dragon Palace to be invincible among the high-level races. Now, it seemed that he was truly invincible. Below the peak, who could compete with him? Especially when the Dragon King had the power to kill the old monsters of the Invincible Domain. After the Dragon Palace had the Frost Divine Dragon, even the technological world would not be a match for the Dragon Palace, right? The Dragon Palace is invincible. The Dragon King is invincible. Some experts from high-level races couldn't help but sigh. Based on the strength shown by the Dragon Palace, coupled with the Frost Divine Dragon and the woman in red, it's normal that Tai Shui Demon King, the Old Scholar, and the Black Tower Sorcerer were killed. This Dragon King's strength should be among the top in the Invincible Domain, maybe a little stronger than Tai Shui Demon King and the others, but I'm afraid he's still not invincible. An expert from the Invincible Domain calmly analyzed the situation after hearing the evaluation of the disciples from the high-level clans. It's impossible to be invincible below the peak. If you want to talk about invincible people, it should be in our invincible zone. There are a few crazy old monsters who are truly invincible. An illusory figure of the Nether clan replied. The strength displayed by the Dragon Palace was very strong. It was more than enough to destroy 3 top experts of the invincible domain. This also led them to conclude that the old scholar, Demon King Taishui, and the wizards of the Black Tower were killed by the Dragon Palace 2 years ago. They did not think that it was the Dragon King who killed it alone. The Dragon King was invincible, but the experts of the invincible domain disagreed. Because there were terrifying existences in the invincible domain. Is the invincible domain really as powerful as they say? Some of the disciples from the high-level races overheard their conversation and looked over in confusion. Welcome to our Dragon Palace, experts from all races. This is a small auction of our Dragon Palace. At this time, Wang Xian and the rest had already arrived at the front of the auction hall and sat down. Prime Minister Turtle walked up to the stage and spoke with a smile. Also, the 8 experts hiding around the Eternal Heaven River, please enter our auction venue. This is an auction, not outside. As Prime Minister Turtle spoke, he glanced around and continued with a smile on his face. In front, a few peak race universe ruler realm powerhouses raised their brows and swept their gazes around. So. After Prime Minister Turtle finished speaking, some of the experts hiding in the surroundings didn't continue to hide and flew straight over. On the far right, 5 angels flew over. 3 radiant angels and 2 fallen angels. In front of them were the skeletons of the Nether clan. Their eyes shone with a red light as they scanned their surroundings. His gaze landed on the Black Vulture King, his eyes revealing a faint trace of reverence. Greetings, Black Vulture King. 2 skeletons bowed respectfully. The skeleton clan was a peak race. Although they each had their own king, and many of the kings often fought with each other, experts would always be respected. The Black Vulture King swept his gaze across and responded plainly. The Angel Clan, I didn't expect the Angel Clan to be here. They aren't on the same side as the Dragon Palace. Almost all the subsidiary races of the Angel Clan have been annihilated by the Dragon Palace. The Angel Clan is closer to here. Moreover, they naturally need the light and darkness attribute innate cardinal treasures this time. It's not surprising that they are here. After all, the so-called subsidiary races are nothing in the eyes of the Angel Clan. Those 2 lords should be universe ruler realm experts of the Skeleton Clan. They are actually greeting the old man beside the Dragon King. Is that old man an even stronger existence of the Skeleton Clan? That lady in red seems to be on good terms with him. Isn't that lady in red from the Dragon Palace? The sudden appearance of the experts from the Angel Clan and the Skeleton Clan caused the surrounding experts and disciples of the high-level races to discuss in shock. All of them looked on in awe. Boom! From the left, a figure flew over. His body was filled with an incomparably messy aura. His entire figure was like a bomb that was about to explode. His body strangely possessed 2 types of energy, metal and blue. On top of his head was a pair of horns. A golden horn and a blue horn. He entered the auction hall and quietly floated there. His eyes were closed and he didn't look at anything. Isn't this forbidden? It's forbidden. It's really him. The blue and gold horns, it's him. I didn't expect this person to come too. He wouldn't go crazy here, would he? His arrival seemed to garner more attention than the experts from the Skeleton Clan and the Angel Clan. Especially when the experts from the Invincible domain looked over, their eyes were filled with shock. This figure with blue and gold horns and closed eyes, they called him forbidden. Just this one word, but all the experts in the Invincible domain knew how terrifying he was. A crazy demon, an old crazy demon. Legend has it that he was born from the fusion of the flesh and blood of a cosmic behemoth and a universe dominator at the beginning of the Invincible domain. He already had a lifespan of more than 10 billion years and his realm was still at the peak of the universe supremacy realm. However, his strength wasn't something Tai Shui Demon King and the others could compare with. among the crazy demons of the invincible domain. He occupied one, because when he fought, he would lose his mind and turn into a crazy demon. Secondly, some people speculated that after being imprisoned for a year, there would be half a year where one would not be able to suppress his mind and become a terrifying fighting machine. The experts of the invincible domain discussed, but the experts from the peak races merely glanced at them and ignored them. They didn't care about the experts of the invincible domain, and even looked down on them, because they were a bunch of fellows who couldn't break through and had gone down the wrong path. Hee, since everyone is here, let's start the auction. Prime Minister Turtle said when he saw them coming out. In this auction, the Dragon Palace will be presenting the primordial cardinal treasures. You can use the 5 elements primordial spiritual treasures instead of elixirs, herbs, and fruits to bid. Chapter 36-28. The Dragon Palace's auction this time was mainly for elixir pills, divine herbs, and innate spiritual treasures of the 5 elements. Therefore, innate spiritual treasures could be used in the bidding. The auction began. There was nothing much to say about this auction. As long as you had enough treasures, you could bid for what you needed. The Dragon Palace brought out a lot of items this time. Other than a few innate cardinal treasures, there were also hundreds of darkness and light attribute innate cardinal treasures. In addition, there were 3 soul-returning fruit and all sorts of strange treasures. Other than that, there were also some items submitted by experts from high-level races. There were a total of over 1,000 items up for auction. With over 1,000 items up for auction, the speed of the auction was very fast. In order to prevent experts from pinnacle races from bidding, and if high-level races did not dare to make a move, they could hide their identities in this auction. The auction officially began, and treasures were auctioned off one after another. Wang Xian sat there watching with a smile. The items were auctioned off one after another. After half a day, the bidding for innate cardinal treasures began. The first innate cardinal treasure was of the darkness attribute, and the competition was fierce. Not only did experts from pinnacle races participate, but experts from high-level races also participated secretly. High-level races should not be underestimated. Many of them had billions of years of accumulation. An expert from a pinnacle race at the Universe Lord realm might not be able to defeat them. However, the first innate cardinal treasure was won by an expert from the Nether clan. The second innate cardinal treasure was of the light attribute, and was eventually won by an expert from the celestial nation. The third innate cardinal treasure was of the metal attribute. When this innate cardinal treasure was auctioned, the crazy demon seal of the invincible domain made its move. The crazy demon seal of the invincible domain was also very rich. The more experts they killed, the more their gains would naturally be. Even experts from pinnacle races did not have as many treasures as he did. It was a pity that when he made his move, he met an expert from the Divine Tiger clan. This expert's strength was above the First Order Universe Lord realm. When he made his move, the crazy demon seal of the invincible domain was defeated. When this innate cardinal treasure of the metal attribute was auctioned off by the expert from the Divine Tiger clan, an intense energy fluctuation came from behind. A piece of trash who can't even control his mind. It doesn't matter how strong he is. The Black Vulture King's gaze swept across the forbidden zone behind him. He did not hide it in the slightest as he opened his mouth to evaluate with a face full of disdain. Wang Xian looked over curiously. He was very curious about this crazy devil from the invincible domain. This kind of existence was stronger than Tai Shui Yao King and the others. There were 2 reasons why such experts would go crazy. The first was not breaking through for a long time, and the passage of time would cause his mind to change. Secondly, because they had not broken through for a long time, they would think of ways to increase their strength. After their strength increased, there was no corresponding realm to match, so it was easy for them to lose control, which meant they could not control themselves. This was the reason for their madness. He had become stronger, but he had also gone mad. It would be even more difficult for such an existence to break through. Wang Xian sized up this crazy old devil called Jean with curiosity. It shouldn't be too much of a problem for him to deal with him. Although he was very strong, he was not strong enough to instantly kill Tai Shui Demon King. However, he hadn't even managed to get his hands on a single item, yet the energy within his body had already fluctuated so greatly. One could only imagine the severity of this situation. After the metal attribute Khanate Cardinal Treasure was obtained by the Divine Tiger Clan's expert, there weren't many other treasures left. In the end, there were only 3 soul-returned fetal fruits. Such fruits were fatally attractive to any disciple of an expert. After all, this was a treasure equivalent to an extra life. To some disciples of experts, this was even more important than Khanate Cardinal Treasures. Of course, the value of soul-returned fetal fruits was much lower than Khanate Cardinal Treasures. The 3 soul-returned fetal fruits were won by the experts one by one, and the auction came to a successful end. The auction has come to an end. Those who manage to get their items can contact us to collect them. As Prime Minister Turtle spoke, some of the experts in the surrounding seats left immediately. Wang Xian, I'm leaving with my father and grandfather. Let's meet again in 1,000 years. By then, I'll have reached the Universe Dominator realm. Ling Honggu bade farewell to Wang Xian directly. Alright. See you in 1,000 years. Wang Xian smiled and nodded his head at her. Brother Dragon King, I have high hopes for you. When Honggu breaks through, I'll invite you over to witness the breakthrough of Honggu. At the same time, I'll show you our skeleton realm. Black Vulture King laughed and said to Wang Xian, Alright, see you in 1,000 years. Wang Xian nodded his head and agreed. Farewell. Spirit Devil King cupped his fists. They returned to their own holy nations and disappeared. Wang Xian also cupped his fists at them. In the surrounding area, most of the experts from the pinnacle races had disappeared. They either returned to their own holy nations or returned to their races through special items. Boom. What are you doing? However, at this moment, a horrifying aura swept across the surroundings. Following which, a hurried voice sounded. Wang Xian was taken aback by the sudden turn of events. He immediately looked ahead. In front of him, a middle-aged man with a horrifying long sword in his hand was staring ahead with a grave expression. Beside the middle-aged man were a young man and a young lady. They looked at the figure in front of them with fear. In front of them was an old lunatic from the Invincible domain with a blue and golden horn. Forbidden. At this moment, he had one eye opened eerily. However, this eye was filled with madness. Around Forbidden and the middle-aged man, there was a blue light shield enveloping them. Clearly, this blue light shield, it could prevent the middle-aged man and the rest from escaping. What? It's Cold Light Sword God. That's the lunatic expert from the Invincible domain. What is that lunatic expert trying to do? Why is he attacking Cold Light Sword God? What's happening? The sudden change also shocked the surrounding people. All of them looked over at the same time. Is it a spar or something? Cold Light Sword God is very strong. He once swept an entire region with his sword. With an inborn cardinal treasure in his hand, he's almost invincible and has a great reputation. Some experts from the advanced races looked over and commented in surprise. Give me the inborn cardinal treasure in your hand in 3 seconds. At this moment, Forbidden's one eye was twitching crazily, as though he was suppressing the violence in his body. He spoke in a low voice. He wanted the inborn cardinal treasure in Cold Light Sword God's hand. A water attribute inborn cardinal treasure. Chapter 36-29. He wants that expert's innate cardinal treasure? That long sword with water attribute? And he has already sealed the other party? Seems like the innate cardinal treasure didn't succeed in bidding for that metal attribute innate cardinal treasure. Therefore, he wants that expert's water attribute innate cardinal treasure. That guy is really unlucky. That expert with the innate cardinal treasure shouldn't be from the Invincible domain. He's really unlucky this time. At the front of the Dragon Palace auction venue, some old monsters from the Invincible domain who hadn't left saw this scene and looked over in shock. That expert from the Invincible domain wants to snatch Cold Light Sword God's innate cardinal treasure. This Cold Light Sword God is very strong. He has an innate cardinal treasure. Isn't he too arrogant to want to snatch Cold Light Sword God's innate cardinal treasure in a one-on-one situation? The disciples of some high-level clans whispered to each other. Wang Xian looked over and raised his eyebrows slightly. His eyes fell on the mad demon from the Invincible domain. You want me to give you my Cold Light innate cardinal treasure? Dream on. I've never seen such an arrogant guy. Even the mad demon from the Invincible domain can't snatch my treasure. Cold Light Sword God stared at the mad demon seal with a bitter expression. At his level of cultivation, he naturally knew about the Invincible domain and the existence of the mad demon. However, it was impossible for him to give his innate cardinal treasure to him directly. Innate cardinal treasure was something that even the Universe Lord Realm experts from the pinnacle races would fight for. How could he give it to him directly? With the innate cardinal treasure in his hand, he believed that even if he wasn't a match for the mad demon from the Invincible domain, he could at least put up a fight. However, just as Cold Light Sword God finished his sentence, a wave of horrifying energy attacked him instantly. Mad Demon Seal. Without any hesitation, he was shrouded in blue and gold radiance. Behind him, an illusion of a giant cosmic beast appeared. This giant cosmic beast had two huge horns, as though it was going to break through the sky. Cold Light Sword God was shocked by the sudden attack of Mad Demon Seal. Scram! Dazzling the 9 states with a sword. Cold Light Sword roared coldly as he executed the Dharma form. A dazzling sword radiance slashed towards the Mad Demon Seal. Bam! However, the crazy Demon Seal did not dodge at all. Instead, it met the sword light head-on. The giant star beast phantom behind him completely surrounded his body. The sword light landed in front of him and was easily blocked. The crazed devil seal continued to attack Cold Light Sword God. What? Cold Light Sword deity's expression changed drastically when he saw that, and a look of horror appeared in his eyes. 10,000 swords return, defend. He waved his arm, and the connate cardinal treasure floated above his head, forming a terrifying defense. This defense borrowed the power of the connate cardinal treasure. However, in the next moment, Cold Light Sword God's body was sent flying backward. He spat out a large amount of blood and flesh. Master. Behind them, the man and woman who were protected by energy saw this scene, and their expressions changed drastically as they roared loudly. They quickly flew in front of Cold Light Sword God, their faces filled with worry. What? Hiss! That old monster from the Invincible domain has such terrifying strength. Even with a primordial cardinal treasure in his hand, Cold Light Sword God couldn't even withstand one move. How is this possible? Is this the strength of a top-notch expert from the Invincible domain? He's too strong. They're not on the same level. Cold Light Sword God has an primordial cardinal treasure, and he couldn't even withstand one move. Oh no, Cold Light Sword God might be killed. The sudden battle had defeated Cold Light Sword God with one move. This scene shocked the experts and disciples of the high-level races from the inner continents. Cold Light Sword God, who had an primordial cardinal treasure, was defeated with one move? From the looks of it, it would be a piece of cake to kill him. Is this the strength of a top-notch old monster from the Invincible domain? Courting death. Seeing Cold Light Sword God flying backward, crazed Devil Seal opened one of his eyes, which was filled with coldness. He spat out 2 words calmly and was ready to charge out again. This is the territory of the Dragon Palace. If you dare to make another move, you'll have to stay here forever. Seeing that crazed Devil Seal was ready to strike again, he spoke directly. What a joke! This is the territory of the Dragon Palace, the territory of the Dragon Palace. This is the venue of the Dragon Palace's auction. Yet here you are, snatching treasures and trying to kill someone. Are you looking down on the Dragon Palace? Every single race had a powerful prestige. Even if it was the Gentle Elf clan, other races would be killed if they dared to step in. The Dragon Palace wasn't a top-notch race, but no one dared to act presumptuously here. The crazed devil from the invincible domain? The strength of the Dragon Palace could kill him in an instant. Wang Xian's words caused the crazed devil seal to pause his attack. He looked at Wang Xian with one of his crazed eyes. At this time, all the experts from the Dragon Palace were staring at him with cold eyes. As long as he dared to make a move, he would die here. There was no doubt about it. Was the crazed devil seal from the invincible domain strong? Yes, but there were 100 third-order universe sovereigns from the Dragon Palace around him. Not to mention the horrifying Array and North Frost. As long as the crazed devil seal dared to make a move, he would be killed instantly. The crazed devil seal stared at Wang Xian with one eye. His pupils were twitching constantly, and his eyes were filled with violence. 3 seconds, get out of here. Wang Xian stared at him and continued emotionlessly. The Dragon King has spoken. Phew, the Dragon King has spoken. Cold Light Sword God can be saved now. With so many experts from the Dragon Palace here, that old monster from the invincible domain wouldn't dare to make a move. How domineering! The Dragon Palace now has a trace of the brilliance of a top-notch race. This is the territory of the Dragon Palace after all. Other experts can act presumptuously here, but the Dragon Palace won't allow such things to happen. The Dragon King's strength is invincible among those below the universe's sovereign realm. Although this expert from the invincible domain is terrifying, he won't be a match for the Dragon King. The Dragon King also has inborn cardinal treasures, and there might be more than one. Upon hearing Wang Xian's words, the surrounding experts and disciples from the high-level races looked at him with respect and admiration. The current Dragon Palace and the current Dragon King were vaguely invincible. Some of the old monsters from the invincible domain saw this, and their eyes flickered. Dragon King of the Dragon Palace? Invincible among those below the universe's sovereign realm. If there's a chance, let's spar. One of the crazed devil seal's eyes twitched madly. He revealed a hideous look on his face and withdrew his aura completely. Spar? Upon hearing his words, Wang Xian pondered for a moment, following which, the corner of his mouth curved slightly. 2 years later, I'll go to the invincible domain and make a clean sweep, he said emotionlessly. Chapter 3630. 2 years later, I'll go to the invincible domain and make a clean sweep. When Wang Xian said this, the surrounding crowd was taken aback and were filled with astonishment. The one eye of the crazy devil seal that was filled with madness was also stunned for a moment. The experts from the invincible domain pursed their lips and stared at Wang Xian. Going to the invincible domain? What a bold claim. In the invincible domain, there were about 4,000 to 5,000 pinnacle supremacies. Other than these experts, there were also a large number of dire beasts and giant cosmic beasts. These dire beasts and giant cosmic beasts could survive in the invincible domain because of their terrifying strength. But the Dragon King wanted to make a clean sweep? How confident was he? There were many top-notch experts in the invincible domain, and there were more than 10 crazed existences. No one dared to say that they could make a clean sweep of the entire invincible domain, especially those below the universe Lord realm. The Dragon King is really confident. He wants to make a clean sweep of the invincible domain. Is he going to walk the path of invincibility? The Dragon King is too ferocious. But I think the Dragon King can really make a clean sweep of all the experts in the invincible domain. Some of the surrounding disciples were discussing in shock, and their eyes were shining brightly. Make a clean sweep of the invincible domain? Then I'll wait for the Dragon King in the invincible domain. I hope the Dragon King won't disappoint me in 2 years. The crazy demon seal suppressed the violence in his heart, laughed hysterically, and flew away. Wang Xian looked at his back and smiled faintly. He wanted to make a clean sweep of the invincible domain, but not for the so-called invincibility. He could sense the strength of the crazy demon seal just now. He was really strong, much stronger than the old scholar and demon king Taishui. But Wang Xian felt that the strength of the crazy demon seal was only comparable to the old scholar, demon king Taishui, and the sorcerers from the Black Tower. Wang Xian could suppress him, but it would be difficult to kill him. But the gains from this auction were enough for him to make a breakthrough in the 5 elements grindstone and his strength. After the breakthrough, he was confident that he could take on a rank 2 Universe Lord Realm expert. As for the level of the Crazy Demon Seal, he could easily destroy it. When he entered the Invincible Domain, he could kill some reckless fellows and powerful wild beasts to get some resources. After this round of advancement, the amount of resources Wang Xian would require for another round of advancement would be even greater. Invincible Domain was a good place to obtain large amounts of resources. At that time, he would sweep them away. I'm looking forward to the Invincible Domain, Dragon King, but our Invincible Domain isn't as simple as you think it is. Beside him, a top-notch expert from the Invincible Domain smiled at Wang Xian. With a swift move, he left immediately. This expert did not think that Wang Xian had the strength to dominate the Invincible Domain. Not to mention sweeping through, he might not even be a match for those powerful mad demons. 2 years later, I will go to the Invincible Domain to take a look. Wang Xian replied with a smile. Thank you, Dragon King. At this time, Cold Light Sword God, who had healed his injuries, cupped his fists and thanked Wang Xian. In the territory of our Dragon Palace, we naturally won't allow such arrogant people to exist. Wang Xian waved his hand and said plainly, everyone can directly return to your own divine kingdom. I believe it will be safer there. Prime Minister Turtle reminded. Wang Xian made a move and flew into the Dragon Palace. Next, it was time for him to enhance his strength. When he arrived at the Dragon King Hall, Wang Xian waved his palm and a large amount of resources appeared in his hands. At the same time, inborn spiritual treasures of the 5 elements appeared at the side. The 5 elements grindstone appeared above the inborn spiritual treasures and began to absorb them rapidly. Wang Xian also began to devour elixir pills to enhance his strength. While Wang Xian was breaking through, the news about the auction had spread rapidly on the universe AI. The arrival of a group of top-notch experts. The arrival of experts from the Invincible Domain. The auction of all kinds of precious treasures. An auction of this level was definitely unprecedented in the history of high-level races. Powerful inborn spiritual treasures and precious life-saving fruits. Similarly, the strength of the Dragon Palace once again caused quite a stir. Naturally, the news of Wang Xian sweeping through the Invincible Domain in 2 years' time was also spread like wildfire. The Dragon King of the Dragon Palace said that he will sweep through the Invincible Domain in 2 years' time. This is too domineering. The Invincible Domain. The disciples of the Dragon King are all Frost Divine Dragons. The strength of the Dragon King is definitely abnormally terrifying. It's not impossible for him to sweep through the Invincible Domain. It's not that easy to sweep through the Invincible Domain. The top-notch experts in the Invincible Domain are also very terrifying. Even the Cold Light Sword God with an inborn spiritual treasure couldn't withstand a blow from an old monster in the Invincible Domain. He's too strong. If the Dragon King can sweep through the Invincible Domain, he will be truly invincible. In the future, the Dragon Palace will definitely become a top-notch race. On the Universe AI, countless experts and disciples were discussing. The news that the Dragon King of Dragon Palace was going to sweep through the Invincible Domain quickly spread throughout the Invincible Domain. Some experts from the Invincible Domain sneered at the words of the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace. The Dragon King of the Dragon Palace is a little arrogant. In the Invincible Domain, who dares to say that he is invincible and wants to sweep through the entire Invincible Domain? I'm just afraid that he won't be able to get out after coming in. This time, the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace has offended the Crazy Devil Seal. I guess the Crazy Devil Seal will come to kill him when he comes in. If not for the large number of experts from the Dragon Palace being there, the Crazy Devil Seal might have already fought with the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace. Some old monsters from the Invincible Domain were discussing. The existence of the Crazy Devil was not afraid of any experts of the same level. They would not take the Dragon King of the Dragon Palace seriously. As for sweeping through the Invincible Domain, they were a little disdainful. They were sure that no one below the Universe Lord realm could sweep through the invincible domain. Naturally, the Dragon King would not be able to do so. No matter how the discussions on the Universe AI were or how disdainful the invincible domain was, within the Dragon King Hall, the aura from Wang Xian and the aura from the Five Elements Grindstone was getting stronger. Wang Xian and the Five Elements Grindstone were not far from breaking through. Especially Wang Xian. Ka. Ding. Congratulations on breaking through to the 7th Order Universe Venerable Realm. Ding. Congratulations on breaking through to the Dharma form of the law, Shadow Dragon Substitute. Days passed. 10 days later, a horrifying dragon aura and crisp sounds came from Wang Xian's dragon body. At the same time, the system's voice sounded. From his body, a horrifying aura surged towards the surroundings. Breakthrough. Wang Xian had broken through. At the 7th Order Universe Venerable Realm, he had the combat power of a 4th Order Universe Lord. In other words, among the pinnacle races, Wang Xian would be at the level of an archangel or a great elf. Still looking for the Invincible Dragon Cultivation System for free? Baidu directly searched. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.